Germany's Nürburgring, a chance to just look at the topography of this place. Big crowds expected here. Of course, the Michael Schumacher era is ended, but the Lewis Hamilton one has begun. So lots of expat Brits presumably swelling the crowd, where the ex-Schumacher fans have sort of wandered off and found something else to do with their summers. Getting ready then for the sprint race in this 6th race weekend of the season. Javier Villa on pole, Adrian Zaug alongside him, the first two on the grid. Pastor Maldonado lines up third from Kohei Hirate, Giorgio Pantano and Kazuki Nakajima, then Lucas di Grassi. Now Lucas di Grassi started 7th, the Renault development driver Gareth took the lead at the start, but it seemed to us, and particularly in hindsight, these strategies are always so much easier to plan, that they didn't really make full use of being out front and having everybody behind, and probably stopped a little earlier than really would have been ideal.
Yeah, I think what it boiled down to is he didn't have the pace of Glock. I mean, Glock got a poor start from pole and slotted into second behind Di Grassi and really just shattered him for the first, 8 laps, 10 laps, and then Di Grassi pitted. Now, why Di Grassi pitted then, I don't know. The lap times were still okay. He wasn't able to shake Glock off. Maybe he felt, well, a new set of tyres, he could get rid of Glock. All that happened was, once Glock got a clear track, he banged a couple of really quick laps in. His in-lap was fantastic. His pit stop was really slick. His out-lap was fantastic, and he took the lead. But I think what it boiled down to is Di Grassi just wasn't quick enough yesterday. He was just lacking pace.
Well, the traditional strategy in Formula One terms is if you've got a slow car, but you're on pole, or you're, perhaps going to get ahead of the guy into the first corner, is that you fill it up and you sit in front of him, holding him up and ruining his speed for as long as you possibly can. But they obviously decided that they would try their own way, and in the end, you're right, maybe whichever way you sliced it, Glock should have been in front at the first corner. Let's be honest, he didn't really start very well. Di Grassi on pace had no right to be in front of him, so Glock should have been in front, and Di Grassi certainly in qualifying and then later in race trim didn't really seem to have quite the pace that the iSport guys have found at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, GP2 is always better racing, is it more open racing than F1, so I think in F1 you can get away with that type of strategy. In GP2 it's very, very risky because the cars are so much closer.
Yes. And so much more exciting to watch as well, as is consistently the case. So yesterday's race then involving a compulsory pit stop. It's just a change of 2 tyres, but again gives the team something else to do. And so far this season, actually, and this is probably not a good thing to say as we're only at the midway race weekend, so far this season haven't really seen anybody's races being ruined by the pit stops, which is a very good thing. I mean, the teams are very up to speed on this now. It was just, perhaps there were a few random acts of race sabotage by teams unintentionally in the first few races 2 or 3 seasons ago, but that's certainly no longer the case. So today's race is just out and out sprint race, and Timo Glock, having finally got himself another bunch of points, eases away a little bit from Lucas di Grassi. 6 points only the margin, and as they sat on the grid, first and second, the iSport drivers at Manicourt, you'd said by the time we get to the Nürburgring you'll only be 6 points ahead. They would have openly laughed in your face, such was their advantage. But it doesn't take much to have a couple of rotten race weekends, and they had 2 on the bounce, and as a result Glock narrowly leads here in Germany. But yesterday's victory will, I would think, have done an enormous amount for his confidence and the confidence of the team. Not that they really seem to be lacking in the first place, but it's just, right, here we go, we're back again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they never doubted themselves, and I don't think anybody else doubted them, either the driver nor the team. I think everybody knows that they are the package this year. I mean, the frustration for them yesterday is that Di Grassi, who's the main championship rival, finished second, so actually they only opened up, another couple of points lead in the championship, hence why it's still only 6 points.
Well, slightly good news is that Luca Filippi didn't score anything, and so in fact he's still in 3rd place, but Pantano got jumped by Bruno Senna as well. So
vice versa, I think, wasn't it? Pantano jumped
no, the other way around. Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah. So one of the things this year that we've commented on already as we ride round with Glock is that there is no guaranteed winner when you get there. I mean, there should be. It should be Glock stroke Zuber, but Zuber has had almost worse luck than Mike Conway, and that's saying something so far this year. and behind them, there's really, you know, there are a dozen drivers who can and do get onto the podium and score points, and you know, we might well be looking at our 10th different winner this year here at the Nürburgring, which is just quite remarkable amount of variety.
It is, and I think it does show that, you know, in previous seasons we've had Hamilton has been the clear best driver. Previous to that was Rosberg. Glock, I think, has been the clear best driver this year, but has had rotten luck and you know, some bad results. So I think that's why it stayed close up. And also you have had inconsistency, as you've said. You know, it's not a case of one driver leaping away. You have had inconsistent performances throughout the field.
Well, we sort of think of Hamilton as he raced and raced and raced to victory after victory last year, but that was more in the second part of the season. He was doing quite a bit of catching up as well, wasn't he? So, yeah, it'd be interesting, because Glock has been on the pace right from the very start in a way that the rookies in previous years certainly weren't, and of course he's not a rookie. Cars on the grid then, ready to get away for the sprint race here in Germany. And this is the 6th race weekend of the championship of 11 race weekends. 24 laps of the Nürburgring in front of them. Javier Villa, the 19-year-old from Spain, on the right-hand side of the grid. Somebody smoking as they light up the tyres at the back, just doing a little practice start and hoping that Charlie Whiting won't spot them. Villa and Zaug on the front row. Maldonado and Herati on row 2. This is Sebastian Buemi, who lines up behind Christian Backerud right at the back of the field. All 26 cars in place, looking for 5 red lights, and as they go off, the race will be underway, and another long hold. Good start from the poleman. Javi Villa gets away. Adrian Zaug is going to be swallowed by the midfield, or is he not? Maldonado with Nakajima coming inside. Maldonado cuts his nose off. Maldonado third. Around the outside, late is De Grassi. And he's lost a couple of places. Zaug is second, Maldonado third, Herate is fourth. Pantano pushing his way through there into the middle of that lead group as well. De Grassi again on the outside, can't get back in behind Nakajima. So De Grassi making up no ground at all. Here's Glock right behind them. And again, Glock survived the first corner from 8th, but he didn't make up any places. How many cars in front of him? 7. So Villa, Zaug and Maldonado ahead of Herati, and I think that might be a significant change for Maldonado, because Herati had the pace on him yesterday. Down the hill they come. That's the Venezuelan and the Japanese battling. And Maldonado with the red camera mounting on the roll hoop. And there's the battle, long behind Javi Villa. Villa's escaped very quickly, Gareth. A really impressive start.
Yeah, he got a great start, didn't he? I mean, Zaug's wasn't great, but the Trident twins...
Oh, Buemi again. No, it's not. That's Pantano and De Grassi. Now, lap 1 of 24, you don't want that. Somebody else, I think, might have flown off on the outside.
Right. Yeah,
looked like they hit Pantano on the outside, or is he still there? Oh, my goodness. It is very close.
Oh! Adam Carroll.
Yes, it is.
Lapierre.
22. No, Nakajima. It's Lapierre, you're right. So Lapierre's rotten luck continues.
He's having a terrible run, isn't he?
Yeah,
They got a great start. Zaug wasn't great, but the Trident twins were so busy fighting each other, and Nakajima.
And everyone, yes.
And everyone else.
The top 8 were all second into the first corner, just alongside Adrian Zaug. So, yeah, behind him it was sort of 5 abreast. Oh, dear. Mike Conway around the outside in the black and yellow Supernova car. And he came across the line in 15th behind Vitaly Petrov. Squeezing by. Now, we spent a lot of time watching some very torrid midfield battles yesterday. So Herate third in front of Maldonado. So that happened at the end of the lap. Bruno Senna, was he the one that was bounced on the outside of Pantano? Be surprised. He started quite a long way further back. 15th, yeah, so he must have been bounced on the outside of somebody else.
With somebody, isn't he?
Yeah, right front made contact with something, I reckon. Away from the start, while Villa just checks out immediately.
Great start.
Look, he's got 3 car lengths in 100 metres.
Yeah.
And behind, Nakajima coming down the inside, can't make it through.
So Zaug's quite aggressive with his defence.
Herate dived right down the inside After, in fact, no, he didn't. Maldonado, who's dived down the inside to pick up a couple of places. Oh dear.
There's Pantano and de Grassi. So yeah, slightly optimistic from Pantano, and then he
wheels into
someone
locking.
here. Yeah, didn't make contact, did it, with whoever that was on the left?
Well, Glock went through into that hole. Who was it behind? Oh my word! Yeah, that was Lapierre.
Yeah.
Yes. Up to the Vidal chicane. You do not want to be on the outside of somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, he put himself in a position there where really he was asking for that.
He was a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was Ernesto Viso.
Yeah, you can't blame Viso for that, really.
No.
I'm sure he's half aware he was there, but you're really focusing on the fast approaching corner.
Well, Viso in 9th, so that was quite an important move. They're 2 or 3 places away from the points at that stage, and they know how hard they are to get. So opening lap, you really have to make your moves. Javi Villa's last lap, 1:42.9. Now that's quick race pace from yesterday late in the race, so that's very quick with heavy tanks. Zaug 1:43.7, 0.8 of a second slower.
Yeah. Well, fastest lap yesterday was a 43 dead, so it was actually below yesterday's fastest lap already.
Well, there's Bruno Senna, whose series is unravelling before his eyes. He just can't get a break at the moment, Senna.
Well, that's every race so far he's completed full distance, so this is the first time he's not finished a race this season. You're right, he's lost his way a bit, isn't he, in terms of consistency?
Yeah, hasn't got the pace that he would be hoping for, I think. Battle for second continues. Zaug, Hirati, Maldonado. Then these two, Nakajima and Glock. Now, these are the last 2 point scorers, 5th and 6th, Nakajima and Glock. So behind them, de Grassi out of the points, which is very good news for Glock. Pantano out of the points. Viso, Rodriguez et al. Further back. In fact, the midfield battle is as follows. 8th place is Pantano. So it's Pantano, Viso, Rodriguez, Negrão, Garcia, Tung, Conway, Petrov, Yamamoto, Suchek, Carroll, Filippi, Tahinchi, Bakarud, Chandok, Buemi across the line. And then Andy Zuber 41 seconds behind them. So Zuber's overnight engine change doesn't seem to have fixed whatever was wrong with the engine yesterday, I'm afraid. It's another bitter pill. But this is the group behind. Look at this. I mean, there's behind Pantano in 8th down to 22nd. There is only 2 gaps of a second or more. And the rest of them are 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. So, all right, it's the first couple of laps, but these guys are still getting very, very close to each other, really enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I think Nakajima needs to stop driving on his mirrors and just look where he's going, because he's got Glock all over him. Yeah. And he's driving little too defensively for the fact that Glock is not quite close enough to get past. He's letting the Trident boys get away. There's Lapierre looking pretty
glum.
Annoyed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, probably rightly so, but more glum with himself, I would have thought. Viso didn't give him any room, but on the other hand, well, it wouldn't actually have mattered how much room he gave him there, because Glock still wasn't going to make it safely around the outside and then on the inside into that tight chicane.
Yeah, I mean, he put himself in a position there where he was asking for trouble, to be quite honest with you.
He was setting up his own crash.
Yeah.
Rodriguez and Negrão here, all over the back of Viso.
Now, Villa's last lap again was another 42.9, so it's 2 straight 42.9s. Everyone else in the mid-43s. He's absolutely flying.
He is.
Consideration here, I know it's quite cool this morning, and it's a shorter race. It's still 24 laps, and I think maybe at the end of the race, if he keeps this pace up, his tyres are going to be struggling a bit.
Well, that's certainly as long as the tyres on most cars were going without starting to really dramatically fade. And, and we had that earlier, didn't we? I think at Manicourt, when everybody stopped a little early as well, they were really running out of tyre towards the end of the race. And so, yeah, 24 laps is about as far as you really want to go on the tyres.
It is. I mean, yesterday's race was 35 laps. Timo Glock pitted about 10 or 12 laps in, and he said he had to nurse the car home the last few laps.
Yeah, so you've got a good 20 laps, and obviously what Villa's doing now is building up the advantage so that then he can sit on and then relax towards the end of the race. Buemi handed a drive-through penalty. Wow, he can't cut a break this weekend, can he?
No, he's compared to Monaco, where he was fantastic.
Let's have a look. Watch the lights. Buemi's at the bottom, and the lights are at the top. They're still red, they're still red, they're still red, they're...
Yeah, of course, marginal. He did, but it was marginal.
Got away very slightly better than some. Yes, that is super. Did he have a clutch go as well after the engine change? There you are, you see.
That's the one thing he hasn't had fail this year, is his clutch.
Now he's obviously got to find the gremlin list of things that they haven't ticked off yet and get those all, blow them all up in one go or wreck the car.
He's on a mission now though.
Fastest lap of the race,
42.5. I mean, this morning he's perfect conditions for quick times. You know, when it's this cool, the engines really go well.
We're 4 laps in, Gareth, and Veer has now relaxed because he's got a 3.2 second margin, and Zaug has got Hirati, Maldonado, Nakajima, Glock and the rest all over the back of him in second place.
Yeah.
So Veer has now been given the slow board by the team.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you've broken the opposition. Good move up the inside. Very good move up the inside. Nice. Yeah, liking that a lot.
One of the DPR cars. Who are we on board with there? Is that Suchek?
Do you know what? I can't remember. Suchek had the camera yesterday? I think he did, yes. He had the rear-facing camera yesterday. Let's have a look as they come across the line. Well, Bakarud was right behind Chandok, and Suchek was right behind Petrov, and isn't anymore. So Suchek's got ahead of Petrov and Filippi, and that was Zuba. Drive-through penalty for having a clutch failure and then having to be push-started away from the grid.
Kicking the man while he's down.
Yeah, they're lining up to give him a boot, aren't they? They really are. You in there?
I wonder if he did go in there then, or was that why he's getting a penalty?
I don't know. You know, if there's a man standing on the grid pointing you through the gap in the pit wall, you'll go, won't you? I mean, really, you know.
Depends how pumped up you are.
Oh. So furious with yourself. Buemi in and out with the drive-through. So that'll drop him down to the back. So now we have a two-way battle. Zuba versus Buemi for fastest lap of the race, because that's all that's left open to them. Because from 23rd and 24th, there's not the remotest chance they're getting into the points. Looking here at Adam Carroll with Vitaly Petrov, or what was Vitaly Petrov behind him. Zuba comes through for his drive-through. Regular pit visitor now after 2 drives through the pits since the start of the race. Just really, you just can't sympathise enough, can you? When it all goes wrong like that, it really seems like nobody wants to know you.
Yeah, it's very strange too, isn't it? How it does happen repeatedly to one driver, particularly he's with a very good team.
Yeah,
you know, it's just very hard to fathom.
Absolutely right. I'm sure Damon Hill can think of seasons where that happened in Williams Renaults, where his engine was always blowing up when he was ahead of Prost, and Prost's never did.
Start to get paranoid.
You do. I mean, and then when you open Autosport on Thursday, and there's the cartoons of the Renault men with a remote-controlled Damon engine, you know, detonation switch.
Feeding your paranoia.
Yeah, exactly right. So Veer still leading comfortably by 3 seconds. And there you are. That's why you need a 3-second margin, because you start to nod off after 6 laps of 25. And well, it just goes to show that he hasn't quite relaxed totally, still pushing on, and that's your get out of jail card played there, Javier Veer. So be very cautious, but that is the lead, first to second. And Adrian's out just with a little bit of breathing space. He's left Keho Hirate behind him, and Maldonado now with Nakajima closing up from behind. Car leading Mike Conway, and Conway here in 14th position with the Japanese in 13th. Time differences between them 44.3 on the last lap for Tung and 43.2 for Conway, so 1.1 seconds quicker on the last lap alone, which should mean that he's getting right into shooting distance by the next time they come down the straight. And unless you are dramatically faster than somebody, really the first corner complex, Gareth, is about the best place to be overtaking here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday, didn't we, when Glock came out the pits behind Tahinchi, who hadn't pitted, so they were fighting for position. I mean, Tahinchi was lapping a good 2 seconds slower than Glock, and Glock, what, 2 or 3 laps to get past?
Yeah.
Granted that he was being a bit careful because he knew Tahinchi would be pitting at some points and didn't need to risk everything, but even so, it underlined how difficult it can be to overtake, even when there's a sort of 2 or 3 second lap time difference.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Tahinchi was being very defensive, as is his. He wasn't being lapped. He was still in the lead of the race, obviously, until he made his pit stop. So it's entirely his prerogative. You may, if you're in the race lead and you're the last guy out there, you may as well be the last guy out there and hope that somebody has a big crash and there's a safety car and you get a free pit stop and yada yada yada. But of course, all of that rarely happens the way that you hope when you're desperate. But there you go. Well, De Grassi and Pantano still outside the points. Yesterday's 2 of yesterday's top 4 drivers.
Oh, he's just popped in race's fastest lap, 42.5. So just pipping Zuber by a couple of hundredths there.
Still not an awful lot faster than Veer was going right at the front. Nakajima a similar distance behind Maldonado. I mean, it's all 0.7, 0.8 of a second, which is about where you run in clean air if you want to make it round the corner, really.
Yeah, it's settled right down, isn't it? Everyone's lapping pretty similarly.
Which is very disappointing, because that's not even remotely what we expect from GP2, for it to settle down after 7 laps.
I think GP2 maybe this year misses some of the characters that it's had the last couple of seasons. That's why one of the reasons it's great to see Adam Carroll back, is he's a racer through and through. But I think we've had a greater depth of racers. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, you know, he's a fantastic racer. Yeah, he's very quick. Qualifying is not his forte. Racing is where he's at. We saw him put some great moves on people last year, and I think we just miss a little bit of that this year, which is why it's not quite as perhaps entertaining as it has been.
Well, it's sort of tempting to say, well, maybe we ought to invert the whole grid and then start the slower guys, or the guys who had misfortune in race 1 at the front, and the pole man right at the winner right at the very back. But in the shorter races, that doesn't leave you an awful lot of time to work your way past 25 other people if you're on the back row of the grid. And there are some tracks where you probably only make it to 24th after 25 laps from 26.
Yeah.
So you can't really expect drivers to be quite so hamstrung. Well, the chase for fastest lap continues. Buemi goes across the AstroTurf there at the Vidal chicane and just about hangs on to it.
I hope that wasn't his fastest lap, because that won't count.
No, well, they're all fastest laps now as far as he's concerned. A couple of quick ones and then a really hang it out for pole position style lap every 3 or 4 laps. And the question is now, he's already been through for his drive-through, but he hasn't actually made a pit stop for tyres. Is that subsection B, paragraph 3 in the why you might not be given the point for fastest lap if you stop for fresh tyres in the sprint race? Are you allowed to hold fastest lap still?
I think you're okay with that, yeah, provided A, you start from your grid slot, which he did, and B, you complete 90% of the race.
Right.
I think you're okay, so I think you can come in for tyres if you like, yeah. I mean, there's no fresh rubber left now. They'll have used all their fresh rubber. You can come in for a...
Tahinchi dive bombed down the inside by Chandok for 19th. Chandok completely at sea this weekend. He was saying after practice and qualifying, had no idea why the Durango cars were right at the back of the field instead of towards the sharp end. And Tahinchi with Christian Bakkerud right behind him. A man whose luck makes Timo Glock seem quite good. I beg your pardon, makes not Timo Glocks, Andy Zuber seem quite good, yeah. Christian Bakkerud must be wondering why he gets out of bed on GP2 weekends some days. And of course some days he's too ill to actually get out of bed on GP2 race days as well, which, I mean, you know, but his season is just a motor racing comedian's best material. It's just been absolutely rotten all the way through. When he's been healthy, the car hasn't, and vice versa. So Veer and Zaug still charging away out front, and Veer with exactly a 3-second margin last lap. Well, he's opened it up a lot, hasn't he? 3.8 now, so...
Yeah, I think Zaug had an awful lap that lap, didn't he? Veer did a 43.3, Zaug did a 44.1. Just 8/10 slower, I'm going to...
In fact, Veer half a second quicker than anybody in the top 10. That Supernova car facing the... Oh, is that a Trident car? Oh, it's Felipe, it is a Supernova car.
So he came back out after his extended pit stop.
Chug, 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 gadunk. Well, they didn't get it fixed, I think it's safe to say, whatever it was. Our best guess probably can't tell us, but whatever it was didn't seem to work for very much longer. It got him from the pit lane. Do you know what? Whatever it was, probably cut out somewhere about the end of the pit lane, didn't it?
Okay.
Maybe they did get it fixed, but maybe he'd just been sitting stewing in his own juices for a little too long. He just threw it into the first corner and threw it away. Javi Veer and Adrian Zaug first and second, and you saw the gap there, 3.8 seconds. 13 laps remain, 12 after this, so he's at the mid-distance, but Zaug now with Hirate and Maldonado and Nakajima right behind him. So those gaps closing up. Hirate's closed on Zaug after that last random lap of Zaug's, and interestingly, Maldonado is right behind Hirate as well. Those are the two grey and silver cars, the two Trident racing cars, and Nakajima the red and white one. So they're all closing on each other, and Zaug has dropped back towards them as well. So the South Africans really got to concentrate on getting everything millimetre perfect in the next couple of laps, because Hirate, as we saw in the last race yesterday, does not need much more of a sniff of the barmaid's apron before he's all over the back of you. So Glock just sitting there, unable still to address Nakajima, but just safely ahead of De Grassi and Pantano, so he's not got too much to worry about, although he'd like more than a point. Maybe he needs to just hope that the Hirate, Maldonado, Nakajima trio conspires to take some of themselves off.
He looks very subdued today, doesn't he, Glock?
It does a bit, doesn't he?
Lap times are pretty average, and
yeah, for a man who was going to win from 8th, he's not showing much, not much progress.
Perhaps too much celebrating last night.
Well, maybe he was just praying too much for rain, because he was 3 seconds quicker than anybody in wet weather setup, and there was originally a forecast for quite a lot of rain for Sunday. Obviously that has moved over to the western counties of England, but yeah, it just doesn't. The car doesn't look as quick as it was in qualifying, in practice, or in race 1. It's just not doing the job for him at all. He's not even in the 43s. All the cars in front of him are in the 43s, 5s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and he's in the low 44s.
I mean, Silverstone, we saw him making fantastic progress through the field in the sprint race, and albeit ended in the gravel after he got taken off, but he started from way down and made some fantastic progress. But today, yeah, just in the pack.
Yeah, he needs a drive-through penalty or something to get him all excited. Yes, exactly. Better not mention that. Somebody might take us seriously. Well, I think Hirate might just have something to show Adrian Zaug in the next lap. He's a 10th or 2 quicker every lap, and after Zaug's randomness on lap 10 dropped him back down towards the Japanese driver, suddenly I think Hirate's got another little lease of life.
And Nakajima's very close to Maldonado now too, isn't he? So there's a couple of possible scraps unfolding here.
Yeah, both of whom are not averse to having a bit of a lunge, either Hirate or Nakajima. Hopefully they'll be tactically well-judged lunges rather than just slightly random ones, but yeah, it could be quite interesting. I think, as you say, Nakajima might actually be the first to get to grips with somebody here. Maldonado needs to just try and make sure that the next couple of laps keep him at arm's reach, because Nakajima at the moment, Gareth, should be just about in the right position if he starts working hard off the chicane here to make a pass down the front straight. So
well, he's been chipping away, isn't he? And the lap time difference to Maldonado has been about a 10th a lap for a few laps now. So
he's close enough now.
Now he's in the slipstream. I'm not sure it's quite close enough this lap necessarily, but
close enough to show intent.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 4.1 seconds. That's a very good lap from Via. Via, again, half a second quicker than Zaug in second place.
And Glock, interestingly, was quick that lap too, 43.6, who's also dragging De Grassi with him.
Yes.
So the front, or the second to 7th places are all bunching up now, aren't they? They're all closing up together.
Conway looking at Yamamoto. Forces the Japanese driver just a little deep in, can't find a way around the outside. That's the way you need to work here. Oh, and that's a very good move down the inside. Can he hold on? Can he take the line on the exit? Yes. Yes. Good sleeves rolled up piece of driving there. Didn't work in the first corner, didn't work in the second corner. Immediately went for option 3 and got it sorted out. So it may only be for 13th place. In fact, it wasn't Yamamoto, that was Hoping Tung, only for 13th place. But the point is there that he knows how to race, and given a fair chance and a following wind, hopefully it might happen a little bit further up the field as well. So Zaug, Hirate, Maldonado, Nakajima, Glock. Oh, is that Baccarud? Of course it's Baccarud. Why wouldn't it be Baccarud? Just another catalogue of disasters going on here at the Nürburgring. Yeah, second to fifth. Well, in fact, now with Glock closing right up, second to sixth, coming across the race. Veer's gone, 4.8 seconds last lap, more than that now, much more than that now across the line, 5.5, and Zaug, Hirati, Maldonado, Nakajima.
There's the move.
Yeah, you called it right. He was deep down the inside, deep and late, and it was too late for Maldonado to cover.
I'm amazed, actually. Maldonado didn't see that coming. You know, normally he's a real racy kind of character and does everything to fight tooth and nail, and that was pretty easy. He rolled over then. Yeah.
Well, Maldonado actually talking about when he got caught by surprise, Pantano rather, talking about when he got caught by surprise yesterday, said, well, you know, down into the first corner, when they duck out that late, I think the driver's just, you know, has already consigned themselves to not being passed. Baccarat just running out of road there. Ooh, just missed those tyres.
Yeah, just carried too much speed into the left hand.
Yeah, watch what's coming up in front of him. You can almost see his eyes widening here as he skates past that tyre barrier. But only just. Ooh. Oh dear!
Is that Zaug?
Yes.
That's
an Arden car, yes. So Zaug has skated off under pressure from Hirate. Hirate second, Maldonado fourth, Nakajima now third. So suddenly the Japanese's pass looks very much more worthwhile. Let's have a look. Zaug locks up under braking at the hairpin. Ooh. Well, Hirate was inside, and Zaug...
Yeah, absolutely. It's a racing incident, I'm afraid.
Very belatedly grabbing the handle and trying to shut the door.
Yeah, he runs very wide there, gets on the marbles, tries belatedly to shut the door, and Hirate just sticks his nose in quite right.
Well, the other thing, of course, is, as you say, on the marbles, he's also trying desperately not to run off the road in the first place, and as a result makes contact and does run off the road. So that puts De Grassi behind Timo Glock as we ride with Glock in a point now, in V points, with A points. But it's Veer by 7 seconds from Hirate. Nakajima 0.3 behind him in third.
Nakajima in third place again.
Yep. Maldonado fourth, Glock fifth, De Grassi sixth, then Pantano, Viso, Rodriguez, Negrão et al. Conway's now up to 11th, having passed Borja Garcia on the last lap as well, while other people were flinging it off the island. So Conway, again, relentlessly overtaking. But here's the battle for second and everything. With a race for us, Gareth, because they've got about 2 or 3 laps of the tyres left if they start pushing hard, and then it all starts to get really quite ragged. So it could be very entertaining from here on in.
Well, they can all smell a podium, can't they? I mean, Glock, obviously, looking at Glock there, his main thing is to keep De Grassi behind for the championship point of view, whilst at the same time maximising his points. Yeah,
they're all mentally rolling up the sleeping bags now and brushing their teeth and getting ready for the end of the race. Well, the yellow flags are out down at the hairpin, but that's really not much of an overtaking place if the driver in front of you is awake. And unfortunately, as we saw, that mistake by Zaug just not only cost him second, but also cost him a finish. So he's...
Oh! Big was Pantano, isn't it? Running very wide.
Yep.
Got away with it.
Scaring the pants off himself. And then the next group, Viso 8th, Rodriguez, Negrão, Conway. Veer is just looking as though he's having a race of his season so far, romping away here.
He's done fantastically well, I have to say. He's done really, really impressive job. The next stage for him really is to step up his Friday performance in qualifying.
Qualifying is the thing that he now really, really needs to address, and he's got the confidence that he knows if he can put himself well up on the grid, he can race against any of them. And again, look at the lap times, Gareth. I know everything going on behind him, it's all a bit aggressive and resistive and, you know, attacking and defending and everything else, but he's still 3 or 4 tenths quicker than any of these guys. And that's with 6 laps after this remaining. This is the replay from Pantano's view. Just about under control.
Got away with it.
Yeah.
The worry there is the car bottoms out, you lose control as it, you just see it hit the ground, just lost control momentarily. But if the curb's big enough, you lose control for the length of the curb, then you're really in trouble.
Yeah. Well, he was over the curbs, across the green stuff, and almost all 4 wheels across the gravel there. So, yeah, that was, again, that was the warning that he doesn't need to be given a second time, that the tyres are not what they were early in the race. A very entertaining battle between these 2 Japanese guys. Hirate and Nakajima, 0.3 apart across the line for the last 3 laps in a row. And then Maldonado behind with Glock again not able to close. We were saying that about Nakajima, well, 5 or 10 laps ago, in fact, since the beginning of the race. He couldn't match Nakajima, and now he can't catch Maldonado either.
Yeah, I had to say something probably isn't quite right. He's not happy with something, whether it's a rogue set of tyres or... But something is reduced him to the role of a kind of a bit part player, and then when he's charging through.
He is looking also ran by his own standards, isn't he? Now, Nakajima, again, very well poised. Ideally placed now, and he's got to survive this lap with the tyres in some sort of order from so close behind Hirate to put himself onto the front straight at the sort of distance between them that there is now. So 18 laps completed. We're on lap 19 of 24, and fast approaching I think crunch time in the battle for second place here at the Nürburgring as Javi Villa, so maybe his tyres have had enough now. Just avoided contact as he went shooting up behind Glock, and the onboard view from Glock's car shows just how close he came. I mean, he was fully locked up, and he was smoking right up towards Glock's back bumper, if you like, and no sign of him getting off the brake pedal either. So.
No, I think he just missed his braking point, didn't he? And on old rubber, that compounded the problem. So it gives Glock a breather, actually, because Di Grassi dropped away by 2 or 3 seconds.
Here's Nakajima's chance then. End of lap 19. They're coming through the Coca-Cola curve onto the front straight, and he is absolutely ideally placed behind Kohei Hirate. So the two Japanese guys, now Hirate, can you see the head moving? You can't, but he knows that Nakajima's there. The question is, can Nakajima dive down the inside? Whoa! Left it too late and then stood on the middle pedal with both feet, and the thing locked up over the brow.
It's cost him about 4 lengths, didn't it?
Yes.
Missed the apex, made a right mess of that.
So, and he wasn't even making the inside move either at that stage. He hadn't, maybe he was just starting to chop across, but the car zoomed straight by the tail of Hirate. And Hirate, to his credit, didn't go off laughing, so he stays in second, Nakajima third. But Maldonado is out of this podium battle, I think, unless Nakajima or Hirate go off. Then Glock, well, all right, not the most electrifying Timo Glock performance we've ever seen, but at least he will get points for 5th position, so continue to, all Conway's hard work, catching Negrão, Rodriguez and the rest is undone. Garcia, Tung and Yamamoto go through, and it took him 10 laps to pass the 3 of those. Yeah,
he just clunked the apex curve just a little bit. You got to hit them, but make sure you hit them the right angle. Get it the wrong angle and hit it too hard, and that's what happens.
Di Grassi in the points as well, and that's really only courtesy of Adrian Zaugg going off, because there's nothing that Di Grassi has done all race long that really looks like it was in any way going to earn himself a point. But it's important for both of them to score points, of course. Only 6 apart coming in here into this race, Timo Glock and Lucas Di Grassi, and that will open up just another couple, or another one. But behind them, Pantano not scoring, he's in 4th place. Filippi not scoring, he's in 3rd place in the championship. Senna not scoring in 5th place. The next driver who scores apart from the top 2 will be Maldonado, who is 6th in the championship, and Zuber, who is 7th, won't. Villa, who is 8th in the championship, will, and that will move him up ahead of Senna into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in the championship. So this is going to be a very big jump for Javi Villa.
Good man.
And if he can win race 2 every other weekend, which seems to be a pattern he's starting, then he might end up, you know, very well placed in the championship.
Yeah, no, I think, as you said before, this is great for his confidence. But the key thing now is to get qualifying sorted out on the Friday, because that will get you much further up the grid on the Saturday.
No question.
Get a good result on the Saturday, and then you sort of looked upon as a front-running driver. Yeah. You know, there is a disparaging reference to race 2 amongst the members of the GP2 paddock. I won't refer to it on air because it's a bit cheeky, but
suggesting that any monkey can win it,
something like that, but a bit ruder, yeah. And that, to a point, you know, it's not.
Yeah, but that true. But that does mean you have to be at least 7th or 8th or somewhere in the first race out of a field of 26, which is all very well if you're the sort of guy who's in a car and in a team that can qualify on pole, but there's only one of those at any given weekend. So
yeah. Which is why Friday's so important. You know, you've got to mark yourself out as a quick driver. There's going to be contact. Yeah, that was never going to work, was it, really?
That was Tung inside Garcia. Yamamoto takes both places there as a result of that. Well, now, Tung, who, correct me if I'm wrong, raced in the Formula 3 Euro Series at this track last year, ought to know the place a little better than that. Maybe Garcia will be... Yeah, that's Nakajima trying again. Yeah. Maybe Garcia will be telling Tung to go back to the F3 Euro Series. And you know, he might still have it. Around the outside again. He's got to cut to the inside the way Conway did. Too late. He left himself up on the outside.
No, Hirati covered that very well, actually.
Yes, he did.
He did well.
Lap 23 of 24 right. I've just got to get the exit of the final corner right. Nakajima's chance now is to try and do him up to that Vidal chicane while he's not paying attention.
He seems to have excellent straight line speed, actually, Hirati. Nakajima's not really been able to tow him down the front straight with any great threat, or up to the Vidal chicane.
Well, is this a circuit where you can perhaps run just a fraction less wing than would be ideal to try and negate that first straight effect?
What are we seeing here? Don't be doing things like that.
Dear.
Don't be doing that.
Well, fortunately, there is an escape road for Javi Villa, normally reserved for the truck racers, but he's making the most of it.
He's got a 6-second lead with 2 laps to go. There's no need to be pushing that hard.
Now, he's not going to get a drive-through penalty for missing the chicane,
I shouldn't think so. And I mean, normally the penalty would be if you overtook somebody and kept the place, but I think in that instance...
A 5-second penalty won't hurt him. A 10-second penalty really would hurt him. Ooh. Hirati 4.9 behind. So Villa lost a lot of ground on that lap, actually. He was 1.4 seconds slower than the battle for second, and I think Nakajima's chance of passing has gone. Last lap at the Nürburgring. Javi Villa has a final wake-up call just at the penultimate chicane, but he still leads by 4.9 seconds from Kohei Hirate, with Kazuki Nakajima in third place. Maldonado now 2.5 seconds behind them in fourth, nowhere near the battle. Timo Glock fifth, Lucas de Grassi sixth, claiming the final points. But Javi Villa, just looking back, started in fact in second place, too wide, and fell off at the bottom of the circuit. But Villa, well, he has put a foot wrong. He's had 2 driving errors where he rattled out extra wide from the final corner, and last lap where he didn't make it through this chicane. But Gareth, from the start to the finish, he has showed all the confidence that you can imagine in a 19-year-old race winner. And for the second time in 3 race weekends, he wins. So no 10th different winner. Javi Villa becomes the second 2-time winner of the season. So both race winners here at the Nürburgring had won before, which is the first time that's happened all year long. So Javi Villa wins, and Kohei Hirate holds off Kazuki Nakajima for second place by 0.4 of a second, just a car length or 2. Maldonado fourth, Glock fifth, Lucas de Grassi with the final point in 6th, much as we expected. Then behind them, Pantano comfortably ahead of Viso, comfortably ahead of the Rodriguez-Negrão battle. Torrevieja Fernando Alonso fan club getting all aerated. Delighted to see another Spanish driver winning.
Yeah, I think Villa, the pace he showed early on was fantastic, and I think maybe his little off at the end there was a legacy of that. I think his tyres are probably well past their best.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of an experience just to sort of slow it down and get into a nice steady rhythm at, say, 8/10 rather than still trying to drive the thing flat out with 2 laps to go with a 7-second lead.
Absolutely. I mean, he was still lapping quicker than anybody else behind him. But, you know, maybe that's just the confidence of having the car on the day. You know, you've got the fastest car in the field. He had the fastest car on almost every lap, apart from the guys who were battling just for the fastest lap point because they had nothing else to gain. There was nobody else really showing him any kind of pace.
No, that's right. So experience tells you that, you know, to the last sort of part of the race, if you're that far ahead, it's not worth still driving at you know, that kind of level at 9-10 tenths, because that sort of thing does happen. He got away with it in that incident, but it could have been much worse for him.
The other thing, of course, that it does show us is that racing engineering's engineering is getting better and better, and they are consistently providing him with a car that can finish in the points at every race, given the right luck. So, I mean, for all the fact that the drivers make, well, you don't really earn pole for race 2, I'd like to see them sit down with their lap times and his lap times, all the naysayers, and say, well, I was consistently quicker, because none of them were consistently quicker.
No, he was the quickest man out there, no question. Well, obviously, fastest lap doesn't really count, because you got people out there just going for fastest lap, not going for the race win. But
that is the pot hunter's point, isn't it?
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So absolutely, and Javi Villa doing another fine job. So Timo Glock, twice a winner this season, Javi Villa, twice a winner this season, and you might have plumped for the first name, you might possibly not have put Javi Villa right up there on the list as the second driver who's going to win a second race this year, but that's the way it's worked out, and the rest of them, well, they were all in the battle for the other points and the other places, and in the end, Nakajima third yesterday, third today. That's a pretty good result for him as well. More bad luck for Adam Carroll and Mike Conway further down the order. Andy Zuber should have been on the podium in second, and he will be really, beg your pardon, no, I don't mean him, I mean Adrian Zauk should have been on the podium in second. He'll be very, very disappointed with himself. Andy Zuber just can't believe his bad luck, I think. All of which means that Timo Glock extends his championship lead by a single point over Lucas de Grassi to 7. Luca Filippi stays third, Giorgio Pantano stays fourth, but Javi Villa moves up from 8th in the championship to 5th position, and that puts him 2 race wins away from leader Timo Glock. So that's them finished for the Nürburgring. Let's see what the rest of the season, the second half of the GP2 calendar, can bring.